You only needed two things. You walked in for milk and bread. You walked out with a bottle of wine, a scented candle, and a bag of chips you didn't plan to buy. That moment of confusion at the register, that small embarrassment, happens to almost every shopper, almost every trip. And here is the thing, it was not a lapse in your willpower. It was not a failure of your self-control. Every inch of that store, the floor plan, the lighting, the shelf height, the smell, was deliberately engineered to make you spend more than you intended. This is supermarket impulse buying, and it is one of the most sophisticated behavioral design systems ever built into a physical space. Today you're going to see exactly how the mechanism works. Not 10 random tricks, but one deep system with 3 interlocking moves. Once you see it, you will never walk through a supermarket the same way again. Move 1. The architecture of friction. Supermarkets are not designed for your convenience. They are designed to maximize your exposure time. Think about where the milk is in your local supermarket. It is almost certainly at the back in the far corner. This is not a storage decision. It is a routing decision. To reach the one item you came for, your brain is forced to process hundreds of other products. Research in retail environment design consistently shows that the longer a shopper spends inside a store, the more they spend, often substantially more per extra minute of dwell time. Retail researcher Paco Underhill documented this extensively in his studies of shopper behavior. The architecture of a store is the first and most powerful behavioral lever a retailer pulls. The produce section is another example of this. It is almost always the first thing you see when you enter a modern supermarket. Why? Because seeing fresh, colorful, healthy food first creates what psychologists call a licensing effect. Your brain registers a virtuous choice and then gives itself permission to indulge later. You put one apple in the cart. Your brain quietly decides you have earned the chocolate bar at the checkout. The architecture is not neutral. Every routing decision, where the entrance is, where essentials are placed, what you see first is a behavioral nudge. Move 2. The shelf as a manipulation machine. Once the architecture has slowed you down and routed you past products, the shelf itself takes over. Shelf placement is not random. It is sold. Brands pay supermarkets, sometimes very large sums, for premium shelf positions. The rule in retail is simple. Eye level is by level. Products placed at the average adult's eye level, roughly the middle shelf, are purchased significantly more often than identical products placed on the top or bottom shelf. This effect is so reliable that moving a product from the bottom shelf to eye level can increase its sales dramatically, sometimes doubling them, without changing the product at all. But the shelf manipulation goes deeper than height. There is a concept called cross-merchandising, placing 2 products next to each other that you would not normally connect to trigger an unplanned purchase. You came for pasta. The sauce was right there. The cheese made sense. And somehow the wine ended up in your cart, because the shelf told a story your brain completed automatically. Your brain is a pattern completion engine. It sees the beginning of a pattern, pasta, sauce, and it finishes the story. The shelf designers know this. There is also the end cap, the display at the end of every aisle. Shoppers instinctively assume end caps contain sale items or featured deals. Research in retail behavior shows that end cap products frequently sell at full price. There is no discount. The display itself creates the perception of value. The deal is the feeling, not the price. The shelf is not a neutral storage system. It is an active influence environment. Every position, every neighbor, every display is a decision made by someone who studied how your eyes move and how your brain decides. Move 3. The sensory environment. The architecture routes you. The shelf positions you. But the sensory environment, the music, the smell, the lighting, is what lowers your guard entirely. Start with music. A landmark study by researcher Charles Arini and David Kim found that when a wine store played classical music instead of pop music, customers bought significantly more expensive bottles, without being aware the music had influenced them at all. The music did not change the product. It changed the mental frame. Classical music activated associations with quality, sophistication, and, crucially, spending more. Tempo matters too. Slower music makes shoppers move more slowly through the store, which means more time, more exposure, and more unplanned purchases. Now consider the smell. Have you ever noticed that the bakery in a supermarket always seems to be baking something, even at 9 in the morning? That smell is not a byproduct. In many cases, it is engineered. Some supermarkets pump artificial bread scent through ventilation systems specifically to trigger hunger and increase food purchases. Hunger is one of the most powerful drivers of impulse purchasing. When your body is in a hungry state, your brain's reward system, driven by dopamine, the brain's motivation chemical, becomes significantly more reactive to food-related cues. The scent triggers the hunger. The hunger activates the dopamine system. The dopamine system makes every product in the store look slightly more appealing than it did 5 minutes ago. And the lighting. Fresh produce sections use warm, slightly golden lighting that makes fruits and vegetables look more vibrant and ripe. Meat sections use a specific red-tinted light that makes the product look fresher. This is not accidental aesthetics. It is applied sensory psychology, using light the same way a film director uses it, to make you feel something before you think anything. Now reconstruct the full scene. It is a Saturday afternoon. You are in the supermarket for 15 minutes maximum. You have a list. You walk in. The produce section hits you first. Bright colors, fresh smell, warm light. Your brain registers. Healthy choice. Virtue points earned. You grab some apples. You are already moving slowly. The music is unhurried. The aisles are wide. There is no urgency. Your guard is down. You turn a corner. The bread smell hits you. You were not hungry when you walked in. Now you are. You pass an end cap. It looks like a deal. You grab one item without checking the price because the display told you it was worth it. You find the pasta. The sauce is right next to it. The cheese is beside that. The wine is one shelf over. Your cart fills itself. You finally reach the milk. At the back of the store as always. But to get there, you walked past roughly 60% of the products in the building. At the checkout, there is one final layer. The impulse zone. Candy bars, magazines, small snacks. All placed at eye level in a confined space where you are forced to stand still and wait. You are tired from walking. Your decision-making energy, what psychologists call ego depletion, the mental fatigue that accumulates from making choices, is at its lowest point of the entire trip. The checkout zone is the final trap, placed exactly where your resistance is lowest after the store has spent the last 30 minutes systematically depleting it. Here is the counterintuitive twist, and this is the part that changes how you see all of this. None of this works by tricking a weak or irrational brain. It works by exploiting a perfectly rational brain, a brain that is doing exactly what brains evolved to do. Your brain conserves energy by automating familiar decisions. It uses context to predict what you want. It responds to scent and sound and visual cues because those signals were genuinely useful for hundreds of thousands of years. The supermarket did not break your brain. It reverse-engineered it. It studied exactly how your brain's shortcuts work, and then built an environment that exploits every single one. Behavioral economist Richard Thaler, who won the Nobel Prize in economics in 2017, called this kind of environmental design choice architecture. The idea that the way choices are arranged changes what people choose, without restricting any freedom at all. No one forced you to buy the wine. No one locked the chips in your cart. The environment simply arranged the choices so that the most profitable outcome for the retailer was the path of least resistance for your brain. If this is making you see supermarkets differently, subscribe right now, because next we're going to show you how slot machines were reverse-engineered into the app on your phone, using the exact same mechanism. Now that you see it, here is what changes. The awareness itself is the first defense. Not a rigid shopping list, not sheer willpower, awareness. When you notice the slow music, your pace can shift. When you smell the bread and feel suddenly hungry, you can name it. That is engineered hunger, not real hunger. When you reach for the end cap item, you can pause and ask, is this actually a deal, or does it just look like one? You're not fighting the store. You are just seeing it clearly for the first time. And once you see the mechanism, it loses much of its power over you. You walked in for milk and bread. Now you know exactly what was waiting for you between the entrance and that back corner shelf. And you can decide how much of it you actually want. Every space you enter has been designed to shape your behavior. This channel exists to show you exactly how. Subscribe. And next time, we go inside the machine that turned your phone into a slot machine.